And
so he not only had FTX, the exchange, but he had FTT. He created his own Bitcoin or like sort of cryptocurrency, FTT. So he's like, this is great. I'll run the exchange and then I'll have my own coin too that people can buy. And then he had this company, Alameda, I guess, which is more, it's like is it like a JP Morgan? Is it like a Goldman Sachs? Is it like hey, Megyn, you want to invest in crypto? We'll advise you. We'll do it for you. We'll probably use the FTX exchange and buy the FTT coin, but we're just going to take this hassle off your hands.
And they engaged in a lot of mergers and acquisitions. So Alameda Research was used for a lot of purposes, and receiving funds, manipulating funds, moving them in or out of the industry, holding a gigantic portion of FTT. And you should be clear about these tokens. Anybody can create a token of any name in about 20 seconds. I can make a Megyn Kelly while I'm talking to you right now. And so, but the value is zero until I market it, right? So until I can create a market for it. So Alameda Research is considered to be a market maker in Wall Street terms. But I mean, what that meant was just a sort of a way to pump up the value of FTT. So a lot of the danger of these institutions, they become these strange sort of perpetual motion machines. Well, my company is backed by my token. Well, what backs your token? Well, my company.
Yeah, right. It's all very incestuous. And he had this band of, very sketchy characters helping him run these corporations and these entities out of this Bahamian resort. They all looked like they were about 14. His ex-girlfriend, I guess, ran one of them, was bragging about how she's not good at math. She didn't know what she was doing. There was no stop-loss program. And all of this is coming home to roost now. So while the goose was looking good, everybody said they're all brilliant. This is amazing. They sleep on bean bags. How cool. And now the bloom's coming off the rose as we realize what's really going on. So he starts FTX. He's good at sort of creating this weird image. As you said, he's sort of like, he's right at a central casting for who the media loves to pump up. Like he's a little, I don't know if he's on the spectrum or what, but they like that. They promote that, the way he dresses too, his little verbal and physical tics. And since he'd come from MIT and I was at a legitimate bank for a while, I was like, oh, okay, he's got credentials, kind of like Madoff too, right? He had a good resume. And so during the height of crypto, I guess he must have had some value to the company and started to parlay that into dazzling things like having FTX in the name of the Miami Heat Stadium and partnering with Tom Brady, all these things. And then more money came in. And then, we'll get to the collapse in a second, but then the media came in too. And the media had a big role in creating this guy's image. How so?
Well, it was the adoring interviews and the fact that he sort of expressed all the fashionable values of woke ideology. I mean, he was really a piece of work and act. And it's funny because you can these days woke ideology you can find in it's like a can you open up and dump it out on the table and pick through it, right? So it's climate change, pandemic planning, socially conscious
DEI.
investing, giving away all your money. I mean, it's all these sort of buzzwords they use. None of it's really serious, but he really set out to say, "Look, I'm one of you," and then he backed it up with lots of donations to the Democratic Party. So one of the things that's funny about the crypto world is every new token has to have a shtick, a marketing gimmick. Well, his value added to the crypto world was basically woke ideology and all the fashionable causes associated with him, among which was this backing of Ukraine and the war with Russia, which we can get to in a minute. Right? That's a strange thing, but that was his value added, and then the loving media interviews, and you would think that, as you mentioned earlier, that the CEO of Alameda Research, for example, says, "Oh, you don't need anything other than elementary school math, to run this company." So she actually said this, right? And
can you imagine?
But it's so funny, isn't it? How dopey.
No, it's funny, horrifying. So wait, a couple of sound bites that I want to get in here. First, here's a sound bite with credit to Jesse Waters, who turned me on to this as I watched his opening monologue last night. this has got a little bit from a YouTube profile that was done on this guy, Sam, saying like, who is he? And here's just to color in the lines on this image that we've created for the audience. Here's a clip.
Okay, the guy you see next to me is the most generous billionaire in the world. And I found him.
Hi, my name is Sam, and this is my story.
Sam has crazy hair. Sam is vegan. Sam sleeps 5 hours a night. Sam lives in the Bahamas with 10 roommates. Sam is 29 years old only, but Sam has $22 billion. And he wants to donate all of it to charity.
Okay, so you can see where it's going. But now watch this next clip of Sam talking about how he wants to fund Democrats. And you can see the leg twitch and the press building him up and why they fell in love with him, because his messaging, as weird as the guy seems, was spot on. I think it's SOT 8.
So in the end, I want to do what's right for the country.
You think every money you spend in politics should be disclosed publicly? Are you comfortable with that?
If there was a norm where every dollar that everyone donated in politics was to be disclosed publicly, I would have a lot of sympathy for that. I think I might support it. I haven't thought carefully about it enough to know. But
well, it sounds like what you're saying is maybe there's some donations that you have made that you wouldn't make if you knew they were going to be immediately public.
So I think I don't generally think about it that way.
Okay, so the more he says he's going to donate, although he's like, and I want more and more disclosure, although I'm going to keep my company in the Bahamas where I don't have to follow all the same rules, right? That's basically how it was going. But the numbers that he actually wound up giving to Democrats were staggering, have been, I mean, up until last week, have been absolutely staggering. That's for you. Yeah, that's sorry, Jeffrey. Can you hear me? Yeah, I'm like, can you fill in the blanks on that? Because as I understand it, he was Joe Biden's number 2 biggest donor.
Yeah, and one of his rackets was, arguing for this regulation, the transparency, and all this kind of stuff. I mean, and then buying off all the people who would be investigating him, and otherwise looking carefully at his business operations. So I read somebody said a couple of days ago, it was a great line, that he hoped to become too big to jail, which I thought was a very interesting phrase. I mean, it's sort of paying protection money for his little racket, and the more money he gave away, and the more he engaged in the sort of marionette, child genius routine, the less incredulous people were, and the more people were celebrating him as the world's most generous, enlightened soul, who understands things about crypto none of us understand, who's just making this empire that's going to fund all, DNC friendly charities, all over the country. And, his brother even established a pandemic, it's called something like Fund Against Pandemics or Pandemic Planning Fund or something like that, solely for the purpose of receiving some of the $30 billion of the Biden administration had scheduled to fund pandemic planning. So every time you see Sam out there going on about the importance of preventing the next pandemic, he's basically shilling for his brother. And then you have his mother, who herself was a co-founder of Mind the Gap PAC, one of the largest Democratic PACs. So you could see how he surrounded himself with all this protection, all these protection rackets. And you mentioned the fact that he was in the Bahamas. Now, that is a fascinating thing to me. Why would you be in the Bahamas as a crypto exchange? There are some regulations in the U.S. that you don't like and you would like to get rid of. Some regulations, some costs of doing business, some taxes. That's why you're in the Bahamas. I do find it really interesting that all the champions of all these hyper regulations of the crypto industry suddenly became adoring worshipers of Sam Bankman-Fried, even though he's in the Bahamas for a reason. I mean, why didn't Bill Clinton, why didn't something go off in his head? This guy may not be entirely on the up and up here. I mean, he's operating.
What's he trying to avoid?
What's he trying to avoid? No, but they kept saying, no, this is entirely normal. Oh, lots of lots of great business people see the Bahamas as a friendly place because, the ocean views and fancy houses and that sort of thing. I mean, you had every reason to suspect this guy was running a racket. Every reason. 3 years to go from nothing to one of the dominant crypto exchanges in the world, with Larry David shilling for you and buying stadiums in Miami. Give me a break.
Imagine buying an Italian sports car or your dream home for less than $1 a day. Well, now you can own an X chair. That's the office chair I personally use in my office, and it is arguably the finest office chair in the world for only $20 a month. Yes, that is less than $1 a day. For that amount of money, you can own something that's going to make the hours spent at your house, at your desk, 1,000 times more comfortable and productive. Not only do I love my X chair, Abby's got one. She loves hers too. Kevin's trying to get one, her husband. Doug's, I'm going to get out. It's mine. From the moment I first sat down on my X chair, I immediately felt the difference. Trust me, once you sit down in an X chair, you're going to understand. There is an X chair for every style and for every budget. They even offer built-in massage. Who doesn't want that in their chair? Not to mention heating and cooling as we go into these cooler months, something you may want, and all for less than $1 a day. Check out all the options and their amazing financing plans at xchairmk.com. That's a letter X, chairmk.com. No other chair can compare to the X chair. Go to xchairmk.com now. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.